What is your fake it till you make it story? My entire professional career, I played with computers growing up, and so far as I knew how to turn one on, download a game, and play them very well, I knew next to nothing about building them or troubleshooting them, usually depending on my friends to help when my second-hand PC threw a crap fit. Cut to me fresh out of college with a waste of paper degree looking for a job. I get hired by an IT contractor, cause I knew a gal that knew a guy, with the understanding I needed to know the basics. I didn't know crap. I made it up as I went along, googling the living crap out of everything. That was 10 years ago. I'm now a systems administrator, still googling the living crap out of everything, right? I felt like I was reading my life story there. You were an IT professional the minute you knew what to search on Google, lol. I straight up said in my last interview for an analyst support role that if I didn't know something I would Google it or refer to Stack Overflow, and if I wasn't able to identify a solution then I would ask a coworker. It's the answer they were looking for. More interested in someone who could work through a problem over someone who claimed to know everything. 90% of IT is knowing what to Google. The other 10% is knowing how to get someone to describe the issue better than my computer isn't working. I George Costanza'd my way into a job in high school. I was looking for a new job and went to apply at a local movie theater. The general manager asked to interview me on the spot, which I wasn't at all prepared for, but went with it anyway. This was like a Wednesday or Thursday night. The interview went well, and she told me she was going to be out of town this weekend, but she would let me know on Monday. I didn't want to wait, so the next day at school I got my work permit filled out and took it back. I dropped it off to another manager and told them she told me to bring this crap in. They asked if I could start the next day. I ended up working there for over 3 years. This guy hired himself. I'm an artist who works in the film industry. Some years ago my wife got pregnant, purposefully, and I had to try to find a way to make more reliable income while she was on maternity leave and for the foreseeable future. As we knew we weren't only having one, I also wanted to stay in film. I got work as a grip, grunt work lugging things around set and building, setting up large bits of lighting gear, no clue what I was doing. I started off on big shows like The Flash and Arrow. A friend got me to work on a small set, and only 13 days into working as a grip, which I didn't tell them, they made me the key grip. Key is film talk for manager. I was in charge of a whole department, which is one half of the lighting team. Faked it until I made it. Fast forward over 5 years, I have over 30 credits to my name as a key grip. I own an entire 5-ton truck's worth of gear that I rent out, which makes as much money per show as my wage did. My wife is back at work after having 2 kids, and I'm a stay-at-home dad with consistent passive income and the time to continue to write and audition whenever I need. I taught a class on a specialty software program. I was learning the software myself, and I was literally one class ahead of the people I was teaching. You sound like my ComSol teacher, though she openly admitted to our class that she was basically doing the class with us. Fortunately, the class was extremely easy and didn't really require much teacher guidance. During college I worked part-time as a deli clerk in a grocery store. I had zero experience with deli items, didn't know head cheese from salami, or provolone from Munster, so I'd explain to customers that I was new and ask them to point to items in the case that they wanted and what the sign indicated for the price per pound. They always seemed happy to help out, especially when I gave them free samples from the slicing machine. Hey, this kid has been new for over 10 years now. This is exactly how I learned to bartend, minus the free samples of course. A customer would ask for some drink I had no idea how to make. I'd simply say, you help me and I'll help you, and they'd tell me what's in it. My boss preferred bartenders with no experience. Apparently experienced bartenders know how to skim from the till. I was desperate for a job several years back, so I wrote up this resume that was utter horse poop on a whim. Granted, some of it was legit, but a good 80% was me bullcrapping. Amazingly enough, I got a call for an interview, and by some miracle they ended up hiring me, and I worked for the place for 7 years before something I was actually qualified for opened up at another workplace. That bullcrap resume saved me from ruin though, so I always will look back in that crazy situation fondly. Probably the only true thing that my crazy mother has ever told me is that a resume is the greatest piece of fiction that you will ever write. My piece of crap druggy brother-in-law used to lie and said he had heavy equipment operator experience. He'd get the job and get fired within a day or two but pick up something small. Did that 15 or 20 times and kept moving around until he learned enough to not get fired. This explains a lot. I always have trouble finding work, but my pill popping half brother can get a job 3 days after getting fired from running a dude's foot over. Ha. Architect student. During my sophomore year someone asked me if I know how to design. I could do sketches only at that time. I confidently agreed that I design. They gave me a job to design a family home. I didn't know how to operate in CAD software and had a crappy computer. Went ahead to learn CAD software basics bit by bit within 2 days, which was just enough as a kickstarter to designing a family home. Went ahead to design within a month as I kept learning design softwares. The house was built and completed 2 years ago. I was very tense to looking at the finished product and holy moly I was surprised. My confidence spiked unbelievably. Since then I've been referred more than 3 times. I'm painfully shy and effing terrified of speaking in front of people. A few years ago I started volunteering at my local animal shelter and would always sign up for a time slot before the shelter opened to the public so I wouldn't have to deal with people. I kept getting assigned new volunteers to show them the ropes because my time slot was when it was quiet and there wouldn't be interruptions. I really extremely didn't want to deal with people, but I went ahead anyway because it meant I got my own kennel key. I was nervous as hell and didn't know what I was doing but plowed ahead anyway. Then I got the hang of it. Now 4 years later, I'm one of the leads. I have access to restricted areas of the shelter. I'm one of only 2 volunteers allowed to update the animals' notes on the shelter site, and I'm highly respected and considered a role model. I'm still terrified. Proud but terrified. Nice.
Nice.
Last weekend I was at a wedding dance and they played the jit up. No one knew the dance, including myself, but liquid encouragement kicked in and I led the entire wedding dance. 50 plus people in a dance that I completely made up on the spot. Everyone was so impressed after that I knew all of the moves, that I didn't tell anyone any different. This is how I am with salsa dancing. I know the basic steps and I know how to spin but nothing else. So I start making crap up as I get drunker and drunker. People always revere it as an amazing skill and I'm just freestyling and I'm too afraid to own up and tell them I don't actually know. My wife even thinks I'm good. Deep hole. Was told that in order to get sober I needed to find a church and start going regularly. I picked a church, went to every service, sat in the front row and sang along with all the hymns. After about 2 months of regular attendance, the priest asked if I wanted to take over the Sunday school class. I politely declined. I managed to convince a priest I was Christian enough to take over a Sunday school class, but it was still more than another year until I could stay sober. Without church,